There's been lots of eye rolling. How Tim, do we really need to do it?
Good evening everyone. If it's your first time here, welcome. If it's your 50th time here, I'm glad you're back. I'm Jo from the Restoration Couple, and today we're going to be looking at paint and adding in some floetrol and seeing what effect that has, if any. So let's get cracking.
Some of you might recognise this project. This is the green panelling. This is part 2. We weren't quite happy.
Who wasn't quite happy?
I wasn't quite happy with the finish. Just didn't. We should have sprayed it, and we said that in the video. But either way, what we've done is just rubbed it back in the worst areas. It was more the drips and just the texture that it was leaving. It's an acrylic eggshell, and because of that, it dries quick. It doesn't sit nice and flat. So what we're going to try is some floetrol, which is a waterborne paint conditioner, and this is often used when you're spraying, but also we're going to try it now, and it will just make it act a little bit more like an oil paint.
Reduces brush and roller marks.
That's what we need. In reality, this probably needed to be sanded pretty far back to this sort of point, but a lot of it is okay. So what we're going to do is just knock it back how we've done it, and we're going to do a brush finish over, and hopefully it will just sit a bit flatter.
There's been lots of eye rolling. How Tim, do we really need to do it? You know, the bed's quite high and quite big. There'll be bedside tables.
That's not the way to look at it.
And there might be pictures on the wall.
We'll just get some like cheap posters.
We can hang some hats.
Why don't we put plasterboard over the top of it?
As a guide, brush and roll application, add between 7 to 15%.
1 slosh of that, 9 sloshes of paint. Let's get it done. Our receptacle for the day is a nice flora tub. Keep going. Stop. Deliciously buttery. It does feel like it's loosened it.
How come we started there?
I don't know. Yeah, this is an improvement. Look at it. I mean, it's still showing through previous roller marks, but that can be your legacy. So I've kind of just got on and done this, but this really works. It's a shame that we've obviously got some texture from the roller on the previous coats behind, but I can immediately tell that this is sitting so much flatter. Plus, because I'm working a square at a time, I can go back 3-4 squares to touch something up and know that I'm not going to leave a great big chunky brush mark. But I think what I'll do is when we come to paint, we've got a big navy wall in acrylic eggshell to do. Exactly the same paint as this, but onto a fresh wall, and I think that's the one where we can trial it from fresh, and also try it either in the sprayer or with an emulsion roller.
Right, it's my turn to try and use the floetrol on this wall with the blue paint. We're in the utility room now, so we're just doing one wall as a feature wall, which will have all our coats and pegs up. So I'm going to sand back a few bits and then we'll get cracking. Right, well, I literally have Tim in my ears saying, do the job properly, Jo, even though he's not here. So I've got my dust mask and I've got my electric sander, because there's a lot more sanding there than it first appeared. batteries out. Great. Cup of tea! This is a true life story of a DIY. Anyone else relate? Well, we all know how painting ended up for me last time, so I'm going to put some waterproofs on. But look, here is the colour. Right, around 2.
Well, I'm back and I'm pleased to say that I feel a little bit re-energised to crack on and finish some jobs now. Joe's held the fort amazingly over this week. The farm, cabin, everything. But let's talk about the walls because they're done. And well, I think it worked out okay. So first up, we sprayed the whole cabin with just a flat emulsion, just a normal matte paint. And that went on really nicely, really flat, really pleased with that. These two walls, the green and the blue, are eggshell. So they are much more of a durable, wipeable paint. Really the sort of paint which we've been using on woodwork. However, this is where all the coats are going, wet coats, muddy coats, everything, and this is why it needs to be wipeable. We went for the blue because we had it left over. A lot of this wall won't really be seen, but it's going to be the back to our feature shelves and hooks and stuff like that. So the biggest problem with using an acrylic eggshell is, like a lot of water-based paints, they dry fast. Often that's a benefit, but in this case, brush strokes, roller marks, anything like that, they tend to show up more and can be a bit more of a pain to work with, especially if you're doing things like furniture or if you're just going back to a previous part that you painted to touch up and it's already dried and it gums up and makes a mess. So on the recommendation of a bunch of you over the years, and especially after the green video, we talked about using this. This video is completely neutral, and in actual fact we're not 100% certain how good this is. I think it's better than Joe thinks. This wall, for example, the main issues are my plastering and the prep work rather than the paint. I think that's gone on as flat as it can be for an eggshell that's not been sprayed. I think this will come into its own with spraying. Furniture, joinery, everything like that that just needs a bit of a smoother finish. So if I'm doing any cabinets and things like that, I'm going to try this with like a diamond acrylic eggshell. But I'd love to hear what you guys make of it and if you've used it before. But it's definitely one for keeping on the shelf just as and when it's needed. I'll put a link to this one down in the description below. Also, a lot of people were asking about our paint supply that we've been using. It's called the Paint Shed. We just found it online and they just mix to order. So rather than going into the merchants each time, it's just kind of a next day delivery, and they do a whole range of paints to a whole range of RAL numbers, codes, whatever. I think we've had about 6 deliveries from them now, all no problem at all. So I'm going to give a thumbs up to the Paint Shed. Again, no affiliation, but it's good to share this stuff. We're almost at a point where we can start storage. Joe's been digging through the storage unit here on the farm, and found out all of our old hooks from the house, as well as a couple of lengths of these coat hooks that I made up again in the old coat room. So I'm going to probably be fixing these to the studs in this wall, either just one long run or maybe two heights. Then we might look at doing a little bit of a bench down the bottom. Proper mud room. It's going to be full of junk, this place. But the most important thing is it's done. We can move on to other things. I've started on the plumbing. Wastewater sewage treatment plant is on its way as well, I think. So hopefully this week we're going to see some good progress. The units can go in here as well. Joe has moved a few bits into the kitchen. Look at that. Woo! Joe's put a bunch of stuff in here just so if we do need to make a meal when we're on the job site, we can do that. And it's better to keep it all in here rather than sat in a damp barn somewhere. Also, I believe we're very close to 200,000 subscribers. So Joe has been working on putting together a giveaway. So keep an eye out for that milestone and we'll make sure we do a video. And there's probably close to 20,000 on Instagram as well. So we'll tie in 2 giveaways, I imagine. Thank you as always to all of our Patreons, which I will put on the screen now. And of course to Speedy Tool Hire for sponsoring our videos on the cabin series. We'll leave it there. Thanks for watching. Remember, if you can, do it yourself. And we'll see you next time.
Obviously, down tools. I mean, what was I thinking trying to do painting after school?